Why, thank you, Christine. Hey, Sam, can you turn to page 18? So here is the new recreation features. This is criterion number 3. So applications will be more competitive if the majority of the total project cost creates new recreation features. And keep in mind that new recreation features here means creating a feature that does not already exist at the project site. So you want to keep that in mind. This criterion asks to indicate whether new features will be created, existing features will be renovated, and or major support amenities that will be created and or renovated. In the scoring chart on page 19, you will notice projects that will create new recreation features will receive the highest points for this criterion. Projects that will renovate existing recreation features are broken into 2 categories. Renovation projects that are a high priority will also be given more points than those that have a low priority. It is important to note that if a project site will be renovating existing recreational features and or major support amenities, that the project still must create one new recreation feature within the proposed project site in order for the project to be most competitive. Please turn to page 57 for additional tips. So here, this technical assistance gives tips on selecting recreation features for the project site, as well as examples for what is considered a renovation of an existing recreation feature. So if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. We will be taking a 5-minute break, but 2 things before we do that. Coming out of the 5-minute break, Noel will be your presenter. And lastly, Victor, do we have any questions in the chat that you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, there is a good question from Jamie about, Jamie was asking about, I believe, looking at her question, the difference between what is a major support amenity, which has to be listed on the grant scope cost estimate form, such as a restroom building, a parking lot, a staging area, for example, and minor items like a sign, a bench, a drinking fountain, and so we'll get to pages 35 through 36 in probably 45 minutes or so, which link back to the criteria that Richard just covered, which is criteria number 3 on page 18. So the key thing to understand, Jamie, about the difference between major support amenities and minor support amenities is a minor support amenity is just what you would consider like a sign, a bench, a drinking fountain. That by itself will cost less than $50,000. It's not like as significant of an item as a restroom building or a parking lot. And the reason why we ask you to not list those minor support amenities on the grant scope cost estimate form, but instead fold that cost into its related recreation feature or major support amenity is to give you flexibility. Okay, so I'll give you a really simple example. Let's say you're proposing a playground. You envision one sign and 3 benches. In the past, if one sign and 3 benches were listed, our project officers would do a final site inspection, literally count the benches. Auditors would also look for the 3 benches. And let's just say you ended up doing 2 signs and 2 benches instead of 1 sign and 3 benches. We would have to go through an entire revision of all the scope documents. And so this just gives you flexibility of what the public expects to see when the project's complete, and those minor items like a sign or a bench, et cetera, those costs can be folded in to their related recreation feature. And so that just gives you a little bit of flexibility. Also, if you finish the project under budget, you can add some value, like add a few benches or signs or minor support amenities if you have, let's say, $5,000 or $20,000 under budget, without having to go through an entire scope change. So it's just there for some flexibility for you. If that's still not clear, just send an email to your competitive review project officer with your question of what is the difference between some of the items that you're not clear of whether they should or should not be listed on the grant scope cost estimate form, and your project officer can guide you on that. Okay, thank you.